Welcome to Codey's Lab. Get ready to actually learn real game development. Codey's Lab is not a video series. It is an interactive system that forces you to learn. You will actually have to think hard and exert your brain, but it will be very rewarding. In the end, you will know how to develop your own games. You will see the big picture and how every part fits into its proper place. Then you'll be able to take those parts and use them for your own game designs. We'll go ahead and start. We've already opened the project in Unity. We're going to start by opening the main scene, which is right here. Once you open the main scene, you'll see there's many scene components in the hierarchy, and you'll see that you can maximize on play and hit the play button to get started. Now we're good. Okay, so that's the intro video, and we have the main menu of Codey's Lab. Now, if this is your first time to play, you probably hit Getting Started video, and you found the video on the website, which will open up that in a browser window. So, since you're probably watching that video, we'll go ahead and close that. And when you come back here, you'll notice that the green arrow is pointing at the training room. You'll also notice that there is a notification up here, which is a welcome to Codey's Lab, and it also notifies us of any current notifications on the community, from the community. So this is what type of game would you like to learn how to make? I'll go with Tower Defense. Send that feedback, and you can close the notification. So now we are ready to get started. We'll go ahead and start with the training room, and we'll look at these other buttons later. So this is the first place to start. Okay, lesson 1. We're going to set up the main scene. Step 1 is creating the main scene, which is what you always do in every game. So go ahead and hit play. The objective, create a new scene. Hint, a scene is the main file in Unity. You must try to figure out what to do. Just try something. If you make a mistake, I'll tell you what to do. Okay, this is the Unity Scene Editor simulator, and so it has it's a simulation of Unity, and it shows us what it is like to use Unity. It's simplified. It doesn't have all the features of Unity, obviously. It's just a simulation to help you get comfortable with using Unity. And so we need to create a new scene, so we're going to use the File menu. Now notice if you click anywhere and you make a mistake, it will indicate what you need to do. So if I wasn't sure what to do, I could simply click and try something, and it would indicate where I need to click next. So this is the File menu. Again, let me try New Project. It makes a sound, indicates that I need to click on New Scene instead. So pay attention to the green arrow, it will help you. That was simple. Okay, the next thing, we see a preview here of the background picture. So we're going to hit play and go to that step. Objective, add the background to the main scene. The prefab is named background. You must try to figure out what to do. Just try something. If you make a mistake, I'll tell you what to do. Now, the reason this does not tell you what to do is because this is designed to make it where you have to think for yourself. What would I do? What would I try if I was going to try to make a background or add a background to the main scene? This engages your brain to make you and forces you to try to understand the environment that you're learning. So in order to add a background, and I have a hint, the prefab is named background. Now if you're new to Unity, you should know that game objects, everything in the scene is a game object. So in your scene you have many things that could be interacting depending on the type of game, and each one of those is a game object. Now in any advanced Unity game, you can have many different types of game objects, and if you created every game object from scratch. It would take a long time, and there's a tool called prefabs that allows you to pre-construct game objects and then reuse the same type and place it in many different places in your scene. This is what we're going to use here. We have a prefab named background, and we're going to use that and put it in our game preview window. So the background, it's not in our hierarchy. This is all of the components in our scene, all of the game objects in our scene. And this is the project. This is the files. These are the folders for our project. And under that, if we click on a folder, it will show us what is in each folder. So each of these in the prefabs folder is a prefab, different things that we could add to the game. Now the objective is to add the background prefab to the game. So I'm going to look for background and drag it to the game preview window panel. Okay, so that's simple. The next step is to add the player. When you add the player to the scene, you can see the preview right here. So we could click play, and we want to do the same thing with the player prefab, which is in the same place. There we go. That's simple. Now, I finished the first lesson is only setting up the main scene. All we needed was a background with a player ship. So we've done that. We finished lesson 1. It was just an introduction lesson, and the next lesson is going to be much more complicated. But we have a notification pop up, so we can go ahead and click that. And this is lesson feedback, which allows us, the creators of the lessons, to know what we need to change, how we need to change it. So if you would take the time to fill in these feedback forms, it will help us create better content for you. For example, if you say this lesson is too easy, that was very easy. It's just creating the scene. How helpful was this lesson for your training? Was it completely useless, or was it great that you learned a great deal from it? I'll just say I learned something. And what other comments would you like to share? That lesson was very short. Okay, so that might be helpful to the author. And I can click send feedback. Sometimes you'll need to scroll if it's not all the way visible. So see that there is a scroll bar on the side. Pay attention to that. Make sure to hit the send feedback button on the bottom whenever you're done. Okay, thank you for your feedback, and the close button is pulsing to let us know we can get this out of the way. Okay, so let's go ahead to lesson 2. Lesson 2, move the player. Step 1, create the move player script. Objective, create a new script called move player on the player. So again, we have the preview with the ship on the background. Okay, we're back to the scene editor, and the objective is create a new script called move player on the player. The object to use is named player. You must try to figure out what to do again. Okay, so I can work with the main menu. I don't need to do that. The hierarchy. If I look at the hierarchy, I see there is a background, a main camera, and a player. So we have extra components here. So I am looking for the player, and I'll go ahead and click that since I've found it in the hierarchy. Now the new script is named move player. So we need to create the new script. There's different ways to do this in Unity, but for the simulator, we have designed it to click on the Add Component button, and then you go down to New Script, and you use this to name your script. This will create a new script with some default methods inside of it, the start and update method. So we click Create and Add, and that's the end of that. Now we have the file, the script that we can use to edit. So step 2 is translating the player to the right. If you can see the preview, there's a ship and it keeps flying to the right very quickly. In the preview, says now our player is flying to the right. Notice that immediately the player flies off the screen to the right. When we're talking about the player, we're talking about the player's ship in this game. And so anytime we're talking about the player, we're not talking about the user himself, but what the user controls, the player's object, which is a ship. We'll go ahead and hit the first step, or the first task in this step, which is construct the code. So now we're going to start programming. Okay, so we have a friendly avatar over here to help us explain what we need to do. Objective, translate the player to the right. The first thing we will do is translate our player's ship to the right. In order to achieve this, we must understand how to use the transform component. You'll notice that every game object has a transform component. This component holds the position, rotation, and scale of the game object. It also has a translate method that makes it easy to shift the position in any direction. Let's try to translate the player to the right. Hint: search online for Unity Transform Translate. So if I wanted to open up my web browser, I could go ahead and perform that search. And find some results. And if you look, it is the first result. It takes me to Unity Scripting API, which is a reference that is often used if you need to know how a specific method works. Then you will go to the Scripting API, and the easiest way is to search just using a search engine and search for the method name that you're looking for, and it usually pop up at the top. We've also added in a button here. If you want to go directly to the documentation for the step, you can click on the Open Unity Docs button, and it will do the same thing, take you to the Transform Translate information. So depending on what we're learning, which API function we're using, it will take you to that, so you can read a little bit about how that works. Now don't worry too much about this. This is very useful for you to read, but if you get confused by this, don't worry, you can go right back and this will help you. The Codey's Lab will explain everything to you. So we've read the description, our objective of the instructions, and there over here on the right side is our code browser. And here we have a little pop-up that is specifically telling us what to enter. It says enter the code that will accomplish the objective. Just try to type something. If you make a mistake, I will help you. What should you type here? You'll need to use these words with symbols in the code. The word write, transform, translate, and vector 3. Okay, so that information tells me that I need to write code that includes these 4 words and also the symbols that are appropriate for my code. And my objective, again, if I look over here, is to translate the player to the right. So I need to use the transform, the translate method of the transform, and make it go to the right. So if I'm still not sure what to type, it's okay. You can just try to type anything, and it will tell you the right answer if you make a mistake. So I think I'm going to use T, and I have a autocomplete down here that gives me transform or translate. So I can either click on this or I can continue typing. See, if I try to do translate, it says that's not right. Type transform. Pay attention to this box because it will tell you exactly what is wrong with your code. If you make a mistake, it will tell you what's wrong. If you're not very fast, it will tell you to hurry up. Okay, so we need to type in transform. Okay, one tip here is if you make a mistake and you have something in there, you need to make sure to delete it before you type what is correct. Okay, so what is correct? I still need to use the rest of the words. Okay, transform, translate. There we go. And I'll try to type right. Okay, that's not right. It says this text was unexpected, right? Remove these characters. Instead, I should type the left open parentheses. There we go. Now, if I paid attention to the docs that we opened earlier, this method, transform translate, is actually almost identical to what is down here, where we see vector3.forward, time, delta time. This is some of the code that we will be using, similar to the code that we will be using. So let's go back to Unity, and I probably need to type vector3, similar to the other examples. Now this says translate the player to the right, so that is how I can say it's probably to the right, and I need to finish up. And it at the end of every line is always a semicolon if it's a complete statement. Okay, so that is the first task. If I wanted to repeat that, I can click on it and go back and start over. And I can do the whole thing again. If I just want to practice, I don't have to wait on anything. I can go ahead and type it quickly. There we go. Okay, so the next step is understand the code, or the next task. And we will go ahead and do that. Okay, so the character is saying, now we will examine the explanations. I will describe a part of the code and you will have to find it. Select a word in the code that will fit into a blank line. Click or tap on the word in the code. Okay, so if you look at the code, you see there is a highlight on each of the 4 words. And here is a sentence with a blank line. So I need to click on one of the words in the code that will fit in the sentence. This is fill in the blank. But it's going to really help us understand the meaning behind the code. The blank holds the values for a game object's position, rotation, and scale. Okay, so if you are familiar with these words, transform, translate, vector3, and write, you can eliminate some of the obvious ones like write. And if you read the docs, you will recognize that this is explaining what a transform is. The transform holds values for the game object's position, rotation, and scale. Okay, so now let's try a different explanation. A simple way to move a game object is by calling the blank method of the blank. Okay, so this is talking about a method, and the only method that we have in this line of code is the translate method, which belongs to the transform. And that is what we are using to move our character, our player. The blank class contains values for the 6 primary directions, which are blank and left, up and down, forward and back. Okay, I quickly recognize right belongs there. And the blank class contains values for the 6 primary directions. Well, if I notice that right, I'm typing vector3.right. So vector3 must contain other values like left, forward, back, up, and down, and that is the correct answer, vector3. In order to move our object, we can call the blank method of the blank component and make it go to the blank. Okay, so I have to think what goes in these blanks. The method again is translate of the transform component and make it go to the right. It seems obvious, but at the same time I'm actually memorizing this code so I can use it later in my own game. Now this is a kind of a quiz where I have to identify mistakes in the code. He says, now we will practice correcting mistakes in the code. I mess up the code and you have to fix it. Look for a mistake in the code and choose it. So I need to click on one of the words which is now incorrect. So if I remember what I had just typed in, I know that it's transform.translate, not write. So once I click on that, I have to put in the correct answer. If I wasn't sure, I can again try to type something, and if I make a mistake, it will tell me what to do. It is case sensitive, just to give you that extra practice of typing your code correctly. Now find another mistake. Transform, translate, transform right. Okay, let's say I guess right. Okay, it says no right is correct. Try another word. Okay, we're talking about the direction right is in the right spot. So another word, maybe transform. Okay, that should be a different word. Again, if I wasn't sure what went there, I can't remember exactly what was written. I think it was 3D something. Okay, 3. Oh no, it's vector 3. Okay, good. So it will guide you if you make a mistake. The important thing is to just try something. Don't be afraid to try, because if you do make a mistake, it will indicate where you've made a mistake and it will help you correct it. Finally, we have the next lesson, and it's the same thing, or the next step in the lesson. It's the same type of thing we'll keep repeating over and over. And as we go, we will be adding more components, more pieces to the code, and it will be building up the concept of what's going on. As you can see, if you look in the preview window, it says now our player is moving to the right 1 meter per second. Notice that the player is moving at a much slower pace. So in this code, in this step, we were going to change the previous code to modify it so that the ship will actually move much slower. So let's go ahead. I will go through this quickly now that you've understood everything. It says move the player to the right 1 meter per second. Notice that the player is moving off the screen too quickly. This is because we were moving the player 1 meter to the right every frame. That's what was happening before. Assuming the frame rate is 60 frames per second, the player is moving 60 meters per second, which is way too fast. That's what was happening in the previous step. Instead, we want to move the player a small amount each frame. We can accomplish this by using a delta time calculation to move the player 1 meter per second. Go ahead and try to add a delta time calculation to the translate call. Hint, search online for Unity meters per second. Or I can open the Unity docs to go directly to the correct documentation. Okay, so again, we're needing to enter the code. It gives me a list of words that I will need to use. If I look at that list, I can recognize all the words that we just used: transform, translate, vector 3, and write. And we see 2 additional words: delta time and time. So all I need to do is add a little bit of code to that previous line. So we'll type in what we had before, and we get to this part where, oh, I typed in the star automatically because I've been doing this, and I know that the answer is time delta time. This is a common pattern, and this is directly from the Unity docs. Okay, so now our player is moving to the right. That's the preview we saw earlier, and it makes sense when we included the delta time. The ship is moving at a more appropriate speed. Understand the code. We move the player to the blank over time by multiplying it by with the blank property. We move the player to the right over time by multiplying it with the time property? No, that's not right. So multiplying it by the delta time property. That is the correct answer. The time is what holds the delta time property. We should always include a blank calculation to incorporate real time in any movement. Again, if I try to click time, that won't be right. I can try another word, delta time. I need to include a delta time calculation to incorporate real time. Okay. Finally, identify mistakes. I need to look at the code that I just entered, see if see what was modified. So this should be transform translate right dot vector 3 times translate delta time. Okay, that's supposed to be time right there. Well, need to make sure I spell it. Okay, let's see. There's another mistake. Okay, this one's a little tricky because it's a switch of the right and the vector 3. If I wasn't sure, I can just guess. And then that's right. It's supposed to be vector 3 dot right, not the other way around. There we go. Okay, so that's the end of the third step. Okay, so you get the picture of how we are moving through the lesson, each step at a time, and it's going to be adding just one component at a time to the code, and it will guide you through how to correctly insert the code.